Larry, what year did you graduate?
1956.
1956, from Hankinson,
Yes.
right? Now you grew up on the farm,
Yes, I did.
so how was that getting to school back and forth?
Well, we in wintertime was a little tough. We come in, I know we walked a lot of times from our farm to where Ellen Coppin lived.
Okay,
And then Bill Coppin, he gave us a ride to school in the wintertime with a team of horses and sled.
and your parents were good about sports, letting you out of,
Yep, they
okay?
were. My dad was a basketball nut, so was my mother.
Okay,
Yeah.
never missed a game type
Nope.
thing, yeah,
I
okay.
remember him milking cows 3 o'clock in the afternoon because the only transportation we had was cars and people would take turns driving us.
Sure, so you didn't get to, like they do nowadays, you didn't get to drive around with a car?
No.
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 Okay, what sports were available to play?
At that time was football and baseball and basketball.
Was there any girls' sports?
None.
None.
Not at that time.
Okay,
And then track came in my last year in school was 1956.
okay. So what sports did you play?
I played them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't always see that so much anymore,
Well, you know.
you know. It's too bad because you can learn a lot playing other sports.
You meet a lot of good people. That's the thing I liked about it. And you see these people in this day, and you
Yep.
see them and you talk to them.
And you remember all the good times that you had
And that's
back
what
then.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
Win or never lose.
Great. Now, tournament-wise, was it districts and then regions and then state?
Yes.
And only one team out of the regions went to state, or how was that?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was?
Yep.
Okay. So, basketball-wise now, where did you play?
I played forward.
Okay.
We played the Legion Hall in Hankinson.
You played in the Legion Hall?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
oh, cool.
Yep.
That's a little before my time too, you know,
Yeah.
obviously, but, so what's your favorite moment about that? You remember?
All the good times.
Just all the good times.
Yeah.
Just a lot of
yeah.
good memories.
Whether winning or losing. Yeah.
Big rivals at that time?
Well, Hankinson Fairmont was always a big rival,
Okay,
and Hankinson Leadwood was a good big rival.
yeah, sure.
And there was a lot of good teams. Havana had a team. Weimer had a team.
Did Great Bend have a team?
No, they didn't have
They
it.
didn't have one at that
No,
time.
Fairmont, Hankinson. Oh, there's all kinds of teams that was in that conference.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, and I'm assuming Wild Rice Conference was
That's what it
pretty
was.
big back then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cogswell even had a team. Yeah.
Cogswell did?
Cogswell did.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Now you played football,
Yes.
what position?
Running back.
Running back,
Yeah, we played both ways.
okay.
Running back on offense and safety on defense.
Okay, so you're a little bit quick.
Well, coach thought it was.
Both shots you were, yeah, yeah.
The thing that's really funny is when my boy Jamie was playing in the district tournament down in Watson, my old coach Eddie Anderson was there,
Okay,
and he was sitting alongside of Jared Falk. And the thing that was really kind of funny, they got to talking, and Eddie Anderson says to Jared Falk, "Where are you from?" And Jared says, "Hankinson." And he says, "Well, I used to teach and coach here in Hankinson. Did you know Larry Milbrandt?" And Jared Falk says, "Yes, I knew Larry Milbrandt. He was a running back," he says, "built like a rock." So to this day, Jared Falk calls me the Rock.
The Rock, there you go. All right, well, those are pretty cool things.
Yeah.
Now, he coached football?
Yep.
Who was your basketball coach?
Mr. Anderson.
Okay,
He had them all.
oh, you did?
Just had one coach.
Okay,
Yeah, my freshman year was Art Ernst. And he had the same thing. He had them all.
you had them all.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you said you played baseball,
Yes.
and where did you play there, what position?
I caught.
You were a catcher.
Yeah.
Who was your pitcher?
Oh, we had Artie Schultz pitched. Pete Schmitz from Manador pitched.
Now, the banners on the wall, there, we talked about before, 52, I believe it was, there's a state baseball.
Yep.
Now, you were in high school, but
I was a freshman.
you were a freshman. Underclassmen didn't typically play sports,
No.
you know, varsity back then, there was enough kids
Yeah.
that
Art Ernst was the coach in baseball, and he resigned from the school before the school year ended. And the principal at that time was Don Rudel, and Don Rudel ended up taking him in the state tournament in baseball, and they won it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that I assume that was a pretty big thing back then?
Yep, Glenn Blado was part of that team, Harmon Krause,
Okay.
Sam Pinky Deering, Dave McWayne, Kenneth Hayes.
Okay.
I remember all the guys.
You remember you looked up to them a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, they were good athletes, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you walk into the gym in Hankinson, do you look at those banners at all?
Oh, yes, I do. You bet.
Do you take a little pride in some of those banners
Yes,
up there?
I do, yep. I take pride in all of them. I'm
You know,
kind of
It's something.
private man.
Right, and that's something that I want to talk to you about, because this day and age, I don't know, you know, do some of the kids, do they look at them? Do they take pride? Do they, you know, when I have a tendency to look at them, I want to think, who played then? You know, and what was it like? You know, who they play against? You know, some of those things. And yeah, I take a little pride, you know, in some of the banners up there when we play too.
Yeah, I think whoever played got those banners put up there, I think they all take pride in them.
Yeah.
And to me, it really looks neat to see them hanging them.
Yeah. So what was your favorite sport?
I liked them all.
Okay. Didn't matter. You just
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
ball in your hands and wanted to go play.
Yeah, I like football, baseball, I liked them all. Yeah.
Sure. Were you a competitor?
I think I was, yeah,
You
yeah,
wanted to win?
yeah, like to win, yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoyed it while you were playing.
Right. You had to have fun, obviously,
Yeah.
but you also like to win.
Yeah.
And winning is fun sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, do you have any favorite moments in sports when you were playing that stand out to you a little bit? Or?
Well, one thing that I'll never forget, I was a freshman, and Art Ernst coached a football team, and I think Hankinson had an 8-0 record, and Fairmount had an 8-0 record in football.
Okay.
And the Wallet Rice Conference was laid on the line. And Art Ernst went to college with Fred Marson at Concordia College.
Okay.
In fact, Art always told me he got Fred Marson that job up in Fairmount. So here they're going to play each other in that football game. And I've never seen so many guys carried off a football game in my life. And here I am, a freshman coming in weighing about 150 pounds. Hankinson had the game won. There was about 2 minutes left, and Mr. Ernst says, Milbrandt, McWayne, Johnson, loosen up and go into the next series of downs. I said, it was all right with you, Mr. Ernst. I'll watch this one from here. I was going to risk my 150-pound body against guys like Al and Ozzie Meyer and them guys that weighed about 230. Sure. So yeah. I'll never forget that. That's my favorite story.
Yeah. So did you end up winning the game?
Hankinson won, yeah.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
well, good.
Yeah.
Hey,
and another memory I have is our last game of the season, we were playing the Wapton A squad. And we were undefeated. And Wapton, well, they were quite a bit, they're Class A's, you know, so they're quite a bit bigger than we were. So we went down there to play them. And our quarterback was Pat McWayne at that time. And he got an infection in his knee and he couldn't play. So Mr. Anderson says, Milbrandt, you got a quarterback. I said, I've never quarterbacked a football game in my life. He says, well, you got a quarterback. He says, you're a running back and you know the plays. Okay. So I quarterbacked it. If I remember right, I think that thing is even in that clip here when I got. We had 12 first downs. They never had a one and we got beat. Really? I threw 2 passes and intercepted them both and run them in for a touchdown. I wasn't a quarterback.
You weren't a quarterback. No. Oh shoot! Yep, those are good memories.
Yeah, I think the only score we had, Dick Anderson, finally punched it in.
Having no kids, in school right now, no grandkids in Hankinson right now, you still come to the ball games. Why?
I enjoy it.
You know now.
I like to watch the kids compete.
Yeah, now it just seems like, you know, and I always have too, you know, but now I see parents that come to the games when their kids are playing. If they're not playing, they don't come to the games. and I'm sure you've seen that over the years, you
Mhm.
know, but we've always had that few that come to always, a lot of games, and you were one of them, my
Yeah.
mom and dad, you know, were one of them too,
Yeah.
and now sitting back listening, what do you see from the fans, what do you see from the parents?
I think a lot of times when I go to to a basketball game now, and I hear some of the parents, you know, trying to coach from the stands,
Yeah,
I think that should be left up to the coach.
yeah,
I think their kids could compete better if they would just let them play, because I think there's just too much pressure put on them now
right.
by parents, you know, going to
Right.
these ball games.
And I see that too. I hear, you know, depending on where we're at, I'll either sit on the visitor side or I'll sit right in the middle or whatever, so I kinda hear all sides of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing frustrates me more is when a kid turns up in the stands and looks for mom or dad for advice, you know, it's,
Yeah.
as a coach, it's
Coach works
frustrating.
with them, he knows.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I hear a lot of fans, they, you know, when they get on the referees a little bit and sometimes they really don't know what they don't know the rules,
Yeah.
shall we say, you know? And that's a little bit frustrating. Do you see?
I know I would never be a referee, Mike, because I think as years go by, you're gonna find it's gonna be harder to find refs to ref a ball game because the abuse they take.
Yeah, and you see that now already. We struggle to find umpires and refs,
Yep.
and you're seeing they have to come from farther away, and the schools have to
Yep.
pay more. And you're absolutely right, because yeah, I could have went out and been a basketball referee,
Yeah.
but I won't do it.
Yeah.
Just because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coaches, now, how were your coaches? Were they tough on you? Now that obviously was a different day. You could do different things as a coach or as a teacher.
They made us work. We run a lot, you know. I know that they would call sometimes and make sure night before a ball game you were home by
You were home.
10 o'clock.
Curfews
You know,
and
curfews and everything.
sure.
I remember when I was a freshman, Mr. Ernst, he was a basketball coach in Hankinson. There was no bus service or nothing. And farm kids, he would they would come to school, but they'd go out to basketball and practice, and then Mr. Ernst would take them home with his own personal car after the game.
Okay, sure.
And I can remember that.
Yeah. And you know, with things changing, you know, coaches aren't really allowed to do that
No,
anymore.
no.
You know, I especially as a coach of a girls team, that
Well, that is-
absolutely doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
no, you don't
You know.
want to even get involved
No,
with
you
that.
know, even if one kid stays after practice, I can't do that.
Yeah.
We gotta have two, we gotta have three, you know, so. You've attended a lot of state basketball games.
Yes.
And has the game changed at the state level at all? Do you think?
I think you see a lot more three-point shooting going on now. To me, I always felt that if you want to go in a state tournament and be competitive, you better have somebody who can shoot the three-point shot from the outside.
Right.
If you don't have that, you're not going to have an inside game.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly. I just think that it's you gotta, you know, depending on your players.
Yep.
You know, the size of your players and their quickness and whatever, but the game of getting up and down the floor a little bit more wide open, seems to take you a little bit farther in tournament time.
Yeah.
And, you know,
From watching Hankinson play this year, and they had their ups and downs, I thought the kids were very competitive. They worked hard. They wanted to be better,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think you know, as a whole, most of them all had a good attitude,
Right. Right.
you know.
Yeah, there, you know, you run into that once in a while where, you know, you don't really care, you're just out there, you know,
Yeah.
but with the situation that happened in Hankinson and with the low numbers there for a little while, I thought the kids that played really played hard.
Yeah, they did.
And they really left it on the court, and that's
Yeah.
what you wanna see with
Yeah.
these kids is just to leave it all on the court. When you played,
You know,
and you were younger, was there such a thing as camps or clinics or?
None.
Nothing?
None. We just played barnyard basketball.
Right.
And
right,
out to the front, we had a basket up in the hay barn, and
Yeah.
we go up there, we play ball.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, you're gonna learn more about yourself doing that than you are being in a gym all summer long.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? We went out to the park. We played Legion baseball, got done,
Yeah.
they put lights up in the park for us. We went out and played till midnight, 1 o'clock, whatever.
I remember that.
You know, that's what we did, you know.
Because, my station was right over there.
You were
in the
right
park,
there,
And
you
I
bet.
looked out there, and I seen those kids out there,
Yeah.
and I know old Coach Brewstein says, that's the best thing I've ever saw, those
Yep.
kids playing.
Oh, no doubt. You know, I would much rather see that
Yeah.
than some of the things. You know, you see a lot of kids not playing now, and that's probably another video for another time, but I would just rather see them in the park playing in
Oh,
the
yeah.
driveway
Yep.
than
And
for,
you're starting to see that now again, too.
you know, you see a lot of stuff, you know, 3 and 4 nights a week that they're in a gym, and I just don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of that, you know. But what did you do, what did Larry do in his free time?
Probably sit home and watch TV now.
Now you do, yeah, what did you do back in high school?
Oh, for free time?
Did you have any free time?
Well, yeah, we did. Probably the only thing we had was probably school parties, you know.
Okay,
We had, it seemed to me that we had a lot more than what they do now.
sure,
You know, they, had a carnival in the
Yeah.
fall of the year.
okay. Did you do any fishing?
Some, yeah.
Okay,
I tell you, mostly probably run around with a basketball in the hand and
right,
or in the summertime baseball.
Sure.
You know, yeah.
yeah, and that's, like you said, that, you love to see kids doing that these days, and heading to the park with the ball and just going out and
Yeah.
playing, you know.
Another thing I'll say, I remember when we were kids in the house, we took a shoebox, empty shoebox, put it up high in the wall, and me and my brother would take a sock and roll it together. That was our basketball
That was your
in the
basketball.
house.
You,
That was our entertainment.
you made your entertainment.
Yep, yep.
You know,
Yep,
but it always kind of evolved around sports,
yep,
you know. We'll talk softball another time,
okay,
but no, I appreciate it, Larry.
you bet,
Thanks for coming out.
you bet,
And
man.
thanks for the memories.
Thanks for having me.
I want to thank Larry for the great conversations we had, not only on the video, but leading up to it. Getting to hear a different perspective on things is always good, and the stories like Larry's are priceless. I'm grateful that I have the knowledge and ability to sit down and do these types of videos so that others can enjoy them as much as I do. And I hope we can do more like this in the future. Thanks again, Larry the Rock Milbrandt, and God bless.